let's go. In the front we can see typical Porsche design elements like this round shape right here, reminding us of the classic 911 style, but then also more unique elements like here with the headlamps. They come standard with LED and optional matrix LED, but here the Turbo S has the matrix LED with the elaborated high beam function already included next to some other features. And also with the carbon fiber lip in the lower body, here with a very sporty style. So overall, classic Porsche, yes, on the one hand, but then with a little bit more spice. Really interesting how the dot LED daytime running light then switched to turning indicators. Pretty cool. The length is at 4 meters 96, 16 foot 3 or 195 inches. And from which side will I enter the stage today? Ta-da, here we are, the famous guessing game in our channel. Usually 4S 19-inch wheels, the Turbo 20-inch wheels, Turbo S 21-inch wheels, but today with the Turbo S still the only 20-inch wheels, but that's actually a good choice. Winter tires on that one and a massive design, really cool. And here is, by the way, the charging port. Soon more details to that. You slide like this, and you can also get charging ports for AC on both sides. The DC is just on the one side, for the UK vehicles then on the other side. And look at that flat Porsche design, so something between 911 and Panamera. It's just a little shorter than the Panamera actually. Really round Porsche curves and huge shoulder area right there. 3-chamber air suspension is also standard. That gives then the compromise between the sportiness and the comfort, and also automatically lowers at higher speeds. And electric motor, front and rear axle, giving the electric all-wheel drive, but no mechanical link in between it. And on the rear we also have a 2-speed transmission. That's really rare in the electric vehicle market. Gives more efficiency and performance at higher speeds. What do you think here about the design of the Taycan? And as you can see here, the handles, they are folded out when the car is open, and when you close the vehicle they disappear. Really interesting feature, definitely. The feedback they give is, yeah, that's something to consider. I think it's okay, but yeah, it's not like a fixed handle which gives you a very good haptical feedback, something in between. And what an impressive appearance here also in the rear with the light strip that goes all around the vehicle. Really clean from design. Yeah, a little bit more playful here in the lower part with the carbon fiber again, but I think design-wise really top-notch. Top speed, by the way, 260 kilometers an hour or 160 miles an hour for the Turbo S right here. Definitely more than enough. And the acceleration figure to 1 kilometers or 62 miles an hour, less than 3 seconds. Definitely an EV rocket. And you always want to see how it looks like with the turning indicators. Here with the headlight lights, there they are. And the gross battery size here is 93 kilowatt hours. However, net capacity is lower, and that's the bigger battery that is standard for the Turbo S. For the 4S, for example, you can get this one, the same one, the bigger or a smaller one. And what about recharging? AC charging is usually 11 kilowatt standard. Optional, there's now a 22 kilowatt charger AC available, but 1,600 euros extra. I think it should be included. Here the AC in the top part, but then in the lower part there's also DC charging with a peak of 270 kilowatt. The question is, can you really reach that? We did some tests so far and once reached 245 kilowatt DC charging. That is of course massive. And this here an Ionity charger. So the Ionity charging network is something compared to the Tesla supercharger network. Not so many charging stations of these yet, but the other traditional manufacturers are working together to put something against Tesla for this supercharging network. And let's see what speed we can score here today at this fast charger. And here we go. This is really fun with the screen here at the fast charger. Oh, and that goes quite well. So seem to reach 190 kilowatts. That's already pretty quick indeed. And this would mean at the moment we have here 10 kilometers per minute. So the full charge would take 1 hour now. But of course we don't need to charge fully to 100%. So if you want to go like to, let's say 60 or 70%, that's way quicker than, let's say like 10-15 minutes, and then you can proceed. First of all, door closing sound, and yeah, considering it's a vehicle where we have frameless doors, that's pretty solid sound. Then instead of the doors, everything wrapped tightly. That's the Porsche design scheme. Taycan Turbo S entry badge, microfiber steering wheel, because this is here the animal-free interior. So completely animal-free. What a step forward for Porsche. And this is very, very cool. You have microfiber inserts right here and then fabric there. That's very breathable, so best for summertime driving, but also best for wintertime driving. So the best climate experience for your body. Stamped in Turbo S here at the head restraints, and this animal-free interior is really the best to go for practical and for ethical reasons, for both. Here in black, for example, but you can also get it in a more grey style or in a grey bluish style, or also with brown accentuations, so different color nuances available. Way to go. And getting inside, it is definitely a sports car feeling, no doubt about that. And yeah, it feels also once again 911 similar, but a little bit more space, and these fabric seats here, they also give you more comfort because it adapts more to the body. So that's really nice. Heated steering wheel is also available, activated here at the, like hidden behind the steering wheel, you have to know that. And great grip with this microfiber steering wheel, I would always go for that one. And it's really cozy in winter times, but also stays dry in summer times. That's really cool. You can also electronically change that position up and down, and also in and out. Curved digital display, soon more details to all of these displays. And here there's a lot of headroom to the panoramic roof, not so much into the side pillar here with 1.86 m or 6'1", but still, for tall people it's still totally fine. That panoramic roof is of course also an option. You don't have to go for it, but you can. And it cannot be opened, but goes all the way across the vehicle. The material here, the fabric material, they call race text, by the way, and even more sustainable here, the floor mat materials. They even use recycled old fishing nets for that from the raw material. So really going in a more sustainable direction to combine raciness or sportiness with sustainability. Today it's not about boats, but about screens. So here, starting left, digital instruments. 16.8-inch, really wide, but partially blocked by the steering wheel. Then 10.9-inch here. Another optional passenger screen that is only working when there's also a passenger on the seat, actually. If not, when you put in the D mode, then it switches here to the Taycan logo, sadly. Would have liked to show you that also with the speed while driving. And then in the lower part, 8.4-inch screen. That is then, for example, here for the temperature. A little bit complicated. The minute structure is also sometimes a little bit complicated. So screen overkill and infotainment overkill, I would say yes. Again, this is just an option. I think they could have found maybe an easier user interface. Soon more details to these menus to the screen. Here the analog clock, that's of course always something really special. That's pretty cool. And here again, this scheme, everything wrapped tightly, and nice compact steering wheel where left side you control the volume, right side you can control the digital instruments. Here, click them through, and here the drive mode selector that switches then the driving mode while driving. That's actually an easy pick. This is a good user interface. And here we go now with the digital instruments. Again, a little bit blocked left and right, but overall, yeah, I mean, you can be fine, that works. Then you can switch here, for example, all-wheel drive simulation, PDCC, that's the anti-roll control. It also works very well in that vehicle. Or the middle part, speed here, power meter, or you can also display the GPS map. That is, of course, quite helpful. But most of the time, of course, we want to rather see the performance features. And on the right side, you can also switch around or have some GPS information. So no matter what you want, this always works. It's really flexible. What about the recuperation? Standard would be just rolling or coasting, and recuperation when hitting the brakes only. But here, with the left thumb, you can change it. It also appears there in the instruments. This is in the recuperation mode, so when you lift the throttle, there's more regenerative braking. It also appears then right there in the instruments. Another possibility would be pressing and holding it, and then it's this with the additional A, the automatic recuperation. So in this case, when you lift the throttle, then there's only more recuperation when, for example, there's a car in front of you, and not when just the way is free. This is also an intelligent thing, but you have to bear in mind, this is something you have to activate. The standard mode, when you start up the car, is always with the thing off. By the way, two steering wheel forms available. This one here being the GT steering wheel. You recognize it here because they're using these real screws, some old racing atmosphere. And then this central screen, let's take a look at the GPS, which is somewhat laggy, so the responsiveness should be better. It's already the night view. And then you can also go to the CarPlay here, and let's listen to that. It's a very good remix. Yeah. All-time classic Bose sound system, which is a very cool thing, definitely. So I like to listen to music as for that. Here the CarPlay integration, go back to the Porsche menu, and climate unit can also be accessed right here. As for this, but then you can only, change here, for example, if it's diffused, focus, individual, and so on. The temperature control then below. And it's always interesting to look at the different things that are changing when you put in different driving modes. Electric sports sound, we'll talk more about that when we drive the car very soon. Oh, and that rear view camera is definitely very fancy. Very nice resolution. Left side you also have this fake drone view from above with this roundabout visibility. And then here on the passenger side you can basically do everything like that. So this is a divide then that the passenger can do their own stuff and the driver can do, So there's maybe less arguing in the car. The lower unit right here, a little bit complicated to change the temperature. You can also use the voice control. Change temperature to 23 degrees.
Which temperature should I set?
23 degrees.
Please repeat the entry.
Temperature 23 degrees, please.
I have set the temperature to 23
There we
degrees.
go. Yeah, that took a while, but finally we got to 23 degrees. Oh, don't know why the music was on now. So, and then here, seat heating, for example, seat cooling. You also get something like a haptical feedback when touching that screen. But overall, I think, some menu dials would have been cool. Of course, this is in a nicer atmosphere, so to speak. And these here, they cannot be moved manually. This is also done electronically. So, again, maybe a little bit of tech overkill. I would like to hear your thoughts on that. And then middle console, lower part here, adaptive cup holder, one, and the second one. And then to fold this part here up here on the side of the press, and then it goes like this, but that's it. And it doesn't stay like that. When you leave it, it folds down. That's not that practical. Underneath, 2 more USB-C chargers and also here inductive charging pad for your smartphone and some space. Well, the focus of that vehicle is not necessarily passenger transport, but you can get along with tall adults here also in the rear. Directly fits also legroom wise, and also with your feet. That's well done because they use so-called foot garages. So in the battery that is placed in the lower central part of the vehicle, they had like a spacing out that your feet can also fit then here in the passenger compartment. That's very interesting. And headroom wise, it also works here with that panoramic roof, but more to the side, it gets very close then here, so you more have to lean a little bit to the right, then that's fine. Since we also have that soft fabric surface here in the rear, there's also quite nice seating. It feels rather cozy, but I can also imagine driving a longer trip here also as rear passengers, so no problem. You fold the seats from here, cannot do it from the trunk, you do it like this. This is here then the single seat setup, no seating in the middle. There's also a through bench available, and then here we can fold down adaptive cup holders. Really nice interior quality. And last but not least, there's this middle climate unit here, which looks quite fancy. This is the car key, by the way. You can open the back trunk and here all the front trunk, the so-called Frunk. And then you can also easily open it like here. There we go. And this is a good space in to put the charging cables. There's a special box here. You can open it like this, and then you have actually space for 2 cables in here. Trunk capacity 80 liters in the front, 370 liters in the rear, and a cabin trolley fits in a vertical way, barely, but does work like this. And see here, I put it like this, that you can see approximately the dimension. And the Taycan Cross Turismo, the upcoming model, will change it a little bit. Here we have a normal opening for a trunk, not fastback style. Then measurements, normal length here to the back seat, more than 1 meter, and the total length here to the front seat, yeah, almost 1.90 meters. That's substantial, but the width here is limited. So the width right here is only 90 centimeters, and the height finally 45 centimeters. Still well usable. More usable than a 911 definitely. The Panamera, of course, in this case trunk-wise, a little bit more practical. Welcome to Thomas's active driving lounge with the Porsche Taycan Turbo S, the ultimate EV Porsche. And we go from normal to the Sports Plus mode. Then also there's this additional electric sports sound activated, and brace yourself because this acceleration here is absolutely insane. I can tell you, from 40 kilometers an hour, let's go. Two kilometers, 125 miles an hour. Of course, we could go even faster, but we have to pay attention here to the other cars. What the? I mean, this is beyond anything. Absolutely insane. And look at that, 200 kilometers, 125 miles an hour. It's really silent in here, although there's no engine sound covering anything. And lane change at that speed, no problem. How calm and collected this car is. This car says like 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour. Come on, give me, this is like nothing. It's like super boring or something. And here now on the brakes, carbon ceramic brakes. Of course, you have to push them a little bit harder, but great braking performance, and there's also no fading effect then whatsoever. Woo! Oh God. By the way, here in the normal mode then, everything calm and collected. Even sports mode, the electric sports sound is still off. And this is like the default setting, that when you go to the Sports Plus mode, the electric sound is then on, and you hear the difference then. I want to race this active tour, or grand tour. So here, sports sound. It's like just the normal electric sound in Sport Plus then. This, there you hear the difference, you know. But I can also put it here to on in the sport mode, or when I go to the Sports Plus mode, I could also set it to off, so that would also be possible. Talking here about the default things. You can also go to the individual mode and then put it all by yourself how you want to have it. And now we're here in the tunnel and testing the sound. Yeah, doesn't make any sense now to lower the windows and test the sound as for that. But maybe just again, the electric sound on. And then the electric sound off. We have that. Oh no, wait a minute. No, I was on because I switched it on in the sport. Yeah, a little bit confusing now. Okay, and that's also the thing, of course, when you play with that here while driving, definitely a little bit distracting. I mean, that acceleration was like, whoa. Shall we go back to that, from my perspective, not the tachometer, but how my body was reacting. Yeah. Yeah, there you see it, I've driven, way over 1,000 cars in my life, and this is definitely among the most special ones, no doubt about that. So, now here, nice corner, and you can just stay, at the same speed on the throttle. This is like, any corner you might experience just feels like you are standing still because this car is so capable. Whoa. Oh, that was car a little bit, pushing there, a little bit of understeer. That's interesting, and that's just all about the grip because it's like 0 degrees, a little bit wet road. Tires should be warm meanwhile, yes, but there of course you see the limitations. As long as this car has grip, you can do anything with it. Literally anything. You can, it feels like, you drive 100, turn it in the steering wheel, and you're doing 180 turn and turn in the other direction. That's how it feels. But you have to see, here's a heavy vehicle. When you lose grip, just pushes. That's what we've seen in the corner right there. Therefore, we always have to be, paying attention. But it's also good that we test these cars here in, in colder conditions. Then we can also see about the range. And yeah, about that range. So, kilometer-wise, between 250 and 400 kilometers. 400 kilometers max. When you have, steady speed and so on, more city traffic and so on. And that is then in miles 150 to 250 miles maximum. And as I was starting here today and considering the pre-consumption here in winter times and so on, was showing me like battery was at 90% and predicting 300 kilometers. Yeah, so that is really a realistic figure then for this kind of battery status. But I said with 100%, 250 to 400 kilometers or 150 to 250 miles. So the thing here about the Taycan, and I know there are some other tests which scored some nice results and so on. It is possible if you drive like that, but if you use it in the normal way, you would also use a Panamera or a 911 and so on, and you don't pay special attention to the electric consumption, you will end up with these figures. So the only thing that this car cannot do is doing long range in a comfortable way as for the electric range. As for the seats, it's actually quite nice, as I said earlier also, but we really have to take that in mind. This is where the Tesla Model S, for example, would still be better as for the range and for the efficiency of the drivetrain. But agility-wise and what the driving dynamics tell you about this car, wow, I can just say wow, it's so amazing. If you ask me 4S or the Turbo S, I think the 4S is totally fine, even when there will be the rear-wheel drive only model. It's absolutely enough. And now sports mode, when we are already at speed from 100 kilometers, oh, there's a Golf R behind us. Goodbye. And that's it. Again, 100 to 200. And that Golf R is not to be seen. So, and that was now without that sound, in a normal sport mode, without the electric sound. And I mean, it sounds more spectacular if you have that electric sound on, definitely. And I mean, how relaxed and calm and collected I can still drive at that kind of speed. It feels like driving half the speed, you know, if you compare it to driving any normal vehicle, you know. So this also wind noise wise and how you control the car. This would be in a normal, like, I don't know, like normal compact vehicle, feeling like you would drive 100 kilometers an hour, but we're driving 200 kilometers an hour. Absolutely insane, definitely. So, of course, electric consumption when we drive like we do here at the moment is really, really high. Some people always ask, you know, like, what's it like then? And it's approximately double. So here, with performance driving, 37 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. And you remember the net capacity of that battery is somewhat, a little bit more than 80. So that then tells us this minimum figure of about 200, 250 kilometers, like 150 miles, when you have like really performance driving in winter times and so on and so on. And if you then drive with a better temperature for the battery outside and you drive a little bit calmer, then you more get towards figures of 20 kilowatt hours on 1 kilometers. That's like absolute minimum consumption, electric consumption. And then makes sense, 20 kilowatt hours on 1 kilometers on an 80 kilowatt hour net usage of a battery, approximately a little bit more. 20 times 4 is 80. 4 times 100 kilometers, 400 kilometers. Does that make sense? Hey, this is Thomas's math class, like second grade math class. Yeah, some rather want to attend crystal math class, right? So yeah, but, you know, sometimes we have German classes here, of course, especially with German. There's the Golf R with the German vehicles. So what German performance or racing related word could you yeah, I mean, this car can easily go to the Nürburgring Nordschleife. So the Nürburgring is the racetrack, but the Nordschleife is that very famous old long part of that racetrack there. So Nürburgring Nordschleife is one of the most important words you need to know as a racing fan, definitely. What else I could say? What we say for the wheels? We say Felgen. These are 20-inch Felgen. Yes. So some German lessons for today with Thomas here, of course, and trying to get my adrenaline down now a little bit. And yeah, what cool white vehicle exterior color. But I mean, the blue 4S was also pretty nice. So if you want a little bit more contrasting review to that one here today, tune into the Taycan 4S review with that baby blue color, striking color. And you can also compare it, you know, how the 4S was tested. And yeah, you can, I mean, this here at 200,000 euros or dollars, not really necessary. The 4S will do just fine. And even if there will be the, you know, new entry version with one, not the all-wheel drive, just with one electric motor, this will be totally sufficient and will still be such a performant car. Where am I actually? Am I on Earth? Am I in a spaceship? I mean, I feel like like a second ago, the traffic light jumped to green and now I'm somewhere else. So this is the feeling this car is transporting. This was Sports Plus, but of course, pay attention to that. So don't overuse it. But the agility this car is giving you, you know, right and left from the get-go, it's like nothing else really. And I really have to say, you know, just from these, you know, short corner experiences, we had it a little bit already with the 4S, with the not so strong Taycan. This one, of course, with the Turbo S, even more aggressive. A 911 or a Panamera is actually really no match to that. The Porsche Taycan just plays in its own class. You rather have to compare it then to the electric competitors, like when the Tesla Model S gets the Plaid model or the Tesla Roadster. But we really have to say, I mean, Tesla has, different interior concept and about the range and so on. They figured it out quite well, efficiency of the drivetrain and so on. But the driving agility here in the Porsche Taycan, this is really beyond everything I've ever experienced at this size of a vehicle. And although it's bigger than a 911, it's way more agile and sportier than a 911. Really can say that. And I mean, you're sitting here just waiting for the next traffic light to jump to green, and you can yeah, this is so funny. This is so funny. There was a jump from 0 to 50 kilometers an hour. Every parking lot just is so much fun. I mean, the reaction, look at that. It's like, it's a super heavy vehicle with that big battery, but it's literally driving like a small kart. This is absolutely insane. Look at that. I mean, you have the feeling you can do slalom, like just in, everywhere, anytime soon, and from standstill now. This 50. I mean, it's like you do that like this, and then it's 50 kilometers an hour. And in the Sports Plus mode, there's also some wheel spin now when it's cold and road is wet and so on and so on. Absolutely insane. However, if you go to the normal mode, it's quite relaxing to drive. Have a actually nice seating position, and these fabric seats here also add massively to the comfort. It's not only better climate-wise, so it stays warm in winter and cooler in summertime. Don't even have to use the seat heating here, but also because a fabric surface more adapts to the body. And you can just imagine that, what are you sleeping on in your bed, for example? Are you sleeping on a slick animal skin surface in your bed, or are you sleeping on a fabric surface because it more adapts to the body? It's just logical. And same thing happens here. So you just have more comfort than also in the 911. And I also just feel from my experience, also driving long term, more comfort than in the Porsche Panamera. So, and just chassis wise, I have to say, it feels like something in between 911 and the Panamera. And that's also something pretty cool. But at the same time, it delivers a lot of comfort and it delivers more sportiness than the 911, no doubt about that. It is such an amazing driving experience. And yet again, you can also drive it in a calmer way. This also works very well. When we're going downhill, of course, we can use more of that recuperation. It's generally set to a point that the car is rather rolling, and when you hit the brakes, then there's more recuperation happening. So that's the main philosophy they're using here. Drive mode select, they are always at the steering wheel. And there's also a range mode, for example. But let's see. Yeah, so it's rather is the throttle input that is being reduced. It's not that it would recuperate stronger here now, just because I'm in that range mode. So you rather drive it like a normal vehicle. It's not set out to be, hello, I'm the electric vehicle, like the Tesla philosophy is. So Porsche here really seems to be that they also want to appeal to their existing customers, that really Panamera or 911 customers think, well, I get this one as a additional vehicle, or I get it as a replacement for one of these, for example. Both surely possible. 20-inch wheels here, not the biggest one. The Turbo S here for the Taycan usually comes in, usually 21-inch. So we have a little bit more comfort here than usual. I would also recommend that. But the suspension here is really, really good. So although it's this sports car type and you have so big wheels, we still have decent comfort when running over bumps. And that's really astonishing. And you feel such a direct connection to the road that at any time you want to start a slalom and really never had that experience in a car at that size and at that weight, that you constantly think, where's the next slalom possibility? Now here the lane keeping assist, and also adaptive cruise control is being set. Here the steering wheel moves by itself according to the lines. Please take over steering, or no, guys saying, Thomas, take over the steering, please. Yeah, I do that here for the entry. And this is always a good test here. Construction side, if the car is realizing that, maybe a little bit to there it is. It's a small green symbol. Now it should catch all of the action. Let's see here. Yeah, somewhat it is steering with me, but not really keeping it centralized here, because they have rather set it on a note that it doesn't interfere too much, and I think most Porsche customers will also appreciate that. So it's more like a, not like a semi-autonomous function, a little bit more like an aid if you forget to steer at some point, but it's not that totally centralized feeling overall. So as we know from Porsche, rather drawn a little bit back as for the assistance systems. At the end of the day, most of the time, we want to steer our Porsches ourselves, right? And the blind spot monitor, there we go, integrated in the side mirror. It's a very helpful feature. Of course, the B-pillar is also quite thick, and then there's tinted window in the rear, so really good to have that. And you can also use it as an Autobahn cruiser. That is possible, especially with these speeds, especially with these seats here. Yeah, that's fitting, right? Here the seats are the speeds. Yeah, you see, I'm all about in this racing mode, definitely, even if I'm doing cruise control on the motorway. And now to our conclusion for today with the Porsche Taycan here today as the Turbo S. In general, what a great agile driving experience. It's really incredible, unlike anything else. This car feels like really on rails and like a small go-kart, although it's long, big and heavy indeed, and definitely feeling sportier than the Porsche 911. If you ask me, 911 or Taycan, no doubt I would always take the Taycan. The question is, do you have the charging infrastructure ready for this vehicle? That's, to me, the main question if you go for the Taycan or not. Range is maybe not the best overall, that's the one thing, but the driving agility, incredible, and of course the performance, especially with the Turbo S version. But the 4S, for example, tune into that review as well, is totally sufficient. You can easily go for that, or even later on also for the entry model, which just has one electric motor. The styling is also really good, really nice, really great in a sporty style. Kept with the Porsche design, but somehow a little bit unique. Interior also completely animal-free, possible in different colors. Finally, they offer something like that. Another reason to go for the Taycan, definitely. And hardly ever we have had so much great feedback when driving with the Taycan, also with the 4S, because people know this is a Porsche, they like the brand, but they also know that this is now a more sustainable approach. Of course, with using the materials for the battery, this has to improve technology-wise, but the approach and the thought behind it, also with the more sustainable interior, that's definitely already a big step forward. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you really enjoyed this episode. Tune into the Tesla Model S episode, to the other Taycan episode and so on. See you there or see you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in.